like a dog in the street.
Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Right, dudes. Time to go outside of our Viking sphere and into the rest of the NFL. In fact, my first take does kind of tie in with the Vikings, but a lot of things in the NFL the last 12 hours or so, going back to even like last night, a lot of both stories with both quarterbacks on Sunday Night Football. Ugh. So if you guys are ready, we'll dive. Declan's going to fire someone's ass again. Ready to sling some takes here, boys.
Let's do this.
All right. Judd, you're awfully quiet to start the episode. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm just
are
waiting
you
to
ready to sling some takes?
Oh no, I was
head
bobbing, I was weaving like a dog in the street. I was waiting for my opportunity.
You know who's a dog in the street?
See him head bobbing again.
Brian Flores. And my first take is, for the fifth time, I think, in the last 6 months, I'm going to keep peddling this propaganda. Cincinnati Bengals, fans, media, I have your solution. My take is the Cincinnati Bengals at this point would be foolish to not hire Brian Flores as their next head football coach. This is the most embarrassing run of defensive performances in modern NFL history. What we are witnessing with the Bengals, they've dusted off Joe Flacco, who's out there throwing for 470 yards and Joe Flacco is putting up better numbers in some cases than Joe Burrow had been. And Joe Burrow is one of the 4 or 5 best quarterbacks in the league. This Bengals defense, for the second straight week, with the offense scoring 38 and 42 points against the Jets and the Bears, not enough for this Bengals defense, which says, hold my beer. We'll give up 47 to Caleb Williams and company, and 39 the previous week to the putrid, embarrassing, terrible Jets with Justin Fields going off. Before that, even in a win against the Steelers, that I would say it's a pretty low-octane Steelers offense, scores 31. 2 weeks before that, Lions dropped 37. The Vikings needed 2 defensive touchdowns, but even without those, they scored 34 on their own and then tack on the defensive touchdowns for 48. This Bengals defense, and it was the same thing last year, is one of the worst in modern NFL history. But they've got a ready-made quarterback coming back healthy next year, Joe Burrow. Brian Flores walked into toxic Miami a few years ago, turned around the worst defense in the league, and then took over, again, one of the worst defenses in the league. Ed Donatel, with the Vikings, has made it one of the best defenses in the NFL the last couple of years. So if you want to fix your defense, you hire Brian Flores to be your head coach, Cincinnati Bengals, and you just hire an offensive coordinator that Joe Burrow feels like he can connect with. Those guys can go off on their own. You meet with them once in a while. You fix the defense. Joe Burrow does the offense. And I promise you, the Bengals will be a double-digit win team again in 2026 and back in the playoffs. Fixed it for you, Cincinnati.
Do you get this is a rhetorical question, do you get a healthy Joe Burrow for a full season? Because if you do, I think you're in great shape. Unfortunately,
do you need it? Dude, Joe Flacco, I just told you, they're averaging 40 points a game with Joe Flacco the last 2 weeks.
I don't think that's going to last, though. I think that Joe Burrow, I'm with you. I think Joe Burrow is a healthy Joe Burrow as a top 5 quarterback. And, I mean, the weapons that they're paying for, that's the thing is, this is sort of a salary cap conversation, too, in the sense that look at the weapons, look at who they're paying for, and then, oh, my goodness, guess what happens? Yeah. You got no money to spend on defense.
All the more reason to get a coordinator that can work with those defensive pieces.
It would be interesting. It would be interesting to see as well, because this played itself out with Burrow a year ago. Burrow was putting up huge points, and the Bengals were losing, and they changed DCs. So this is, I think, Al Golden now, who, if I'm not mistaken, had been with your Irish, had been the DC there. He was hired, and so it would be interesting to see if Brian Flores is finally the guy that, despite your payroll being channeled as it is towards offense, would be the guy that could scheme up a defense that could just get a stop, as the Bengals said. Just get a bleeping stop.
Yeah, and it wouldn't, I mean, what he has done with he He went worst to top 5 with Miami defensively as a head coach. And then worst to, I think they were the 5th best scoring offense last year with the Vikings. Within like 2 years, Brian Flores at 2 different stops has said, here's a top 5 defense. You need some pieces, but it doesn't even need to be. If you could turn that defense just into like a league average defense, they'd win 11 games. And they'd be winning the division right now, or right there with Pittsburgh, and maybe competing to go to the Super Bowl again.
Or if, as you just said, by tempting fate of saying, do you need Joe Burrow? Do you consider offloading that contract? And now you've got money to spend elsewhere. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying, do you consider trading? Do you consider if you don't need if the offense can operate well enough, like if Joe Flacco can do this, which you just said.
But my point is not Joe Flacco long-term solution. He's 41.
I know. Right.
I'm saying they're scoring 40 points this season regardless because they've got weapons and whatever.
Yep.
I know what you're saying, which is okay. Well, if Joe Flacco can do it, then why would you pay it? But to me, Burrow still sits in that category of
I agree.
I'm just going to write a check and hope that he stays healthy.
At the end of the day, they're the Bengals. They are the Bengals.
I mean,
they're a goofy collection of football clowns is what they are.
Well, they'd be less clownish if they hired my guy, Brian Flores.
True that. Dex?
Yeah. Let's expand on this. I think I brought it up during Ventline yesterday. Are we headed towards a quarterback controversy in San Francisco? And this played out like 12, 13 years ago with Alex Smith playing great. I believe had a concussion, but gets hurt. Kaepernick steps in, and then Kaepernick's the one that's leading that team to the Super Bowl. They're 5 yards away basically from winning a Super Bowl. They changed quarterbacks who was playing great before the injury. Mac Jones now he's won has made 7 starts, won 5 of them, has 10 touchdowns, 5 picks, has a career high in QBR right now. I mean, turf toe is a tricky injury too, and Brock Purdy's still missing more and more time. If the San Francisco 49ers continue to win games with Mac Jones as the starting quarterback, do they keep him? Do they keep him as a starting QB? I know they just paid Brock Purdy. I'm a big Purdy dude. I love Brock Purdy. I think he does get some slander, negative slander that's not warranted. However, Kyle Shanahan has this dude cooking right now. Are we heading towards a potential quarterback controversy with Mac Jones and Brock Purdy?
How far we've come in the last month on Purple Daily NFL Takes, because you were incredulous when I brought this up like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. You know, it's okay to change your mind on something. I think that's one of the in the takes business. The staunch delivery of how you have to stick on something, and in life too, by the way. Forget this takes business, the life business. It's okay to have a different change of an opinion on it. But Mac Jones continues to play really well. Kyle Shanahan's obviously a phenomenal head coach. That West, too, by the way, we talk about the NFC North being really good. You got 3 teams that have 6 wins in the NFC West right now between the Seahawks, the Rams, the Niners. So I am curious if we're heading towards a potential quarterback controversy there.
I mean, I'll stick with my take from 3 or 4 weeks ago. Whoever they want to run out is fine, but this continues to prove the 49ers made a mistake giving Brock Purdy $55 million a year. Mac Jones had a 76 QBR, 135. I didn't get to watch much of this game, just scanning through some highlights. But the fact that you can continue to score a bunch of points and put up some of the best numbers of any quarterback in the NFL, that's the funny thing. Like, the 49ers have been one of the most successful quarterback factories in the NFL, going back to Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, if you want to go like even the previous regime, like you brought up Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick, that was Harbaugh. But just under Shanahan, they went to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. They went to a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. They correctly pieced out on Trey Lance after they incorrectly moved up to draft him. But they're really good at, like, even if they make a mistake, they're like, that was a mistake. Let's identify it early, not compound it, get to the right decision. And it's like they didn't trust their process or their track record. They panicked and got nervous that, what if Brock Purdy's the last guy that we'd ever be able to, like, develop? And now that Mac Jones is in the house, and I mean, hell, they had a chance. I'm sure if they had talked to, because they're in these negotiations with Purdy when Darnold was a free agent. If they had talked to Sam Darnold's representation and said, all right, keep this on the down low, because we don't want this getting out. But if your guy is interested in coming back to San Francisco and being our starting quarterback, we'll pay him $35 million a year. Or maybe it would have been 40 because it's a bidding war now with Seattle. But you probably could have had Sam Darnold, who raves about his time behind the scenes with Brock Purdy and with Kyle Shanahan. You probably could have had him for like $15 or $20 million less per year. And now Mac Jones is out here reviving his career. And you're telling me right now that if hey, 49ers, you can have a mulligan on that Brock Purdy contract, that they wouldn't take it?
Yeah. Quarterback stability is a heck of a tempting drug, right? Because it's like, well, we're going to have to overpay him, but we finally got our guy. It's like, well, hold on a second here. Kyle Shanahan, who might now be proving to be one of the greatest quarterback whisperers of all time. Like when you look at the amount of guys that he has cycled through, and again, he gets some credit. If you're going to give KO credit for Daniel Jones' resurgence at all, then guess what? Kyle gets some of the credit for Darnold's resurgence that continued here. But anyway, yeah, it is. That's such an interesting case study because, you know, a rookie contract's awesome. But if you then pay that guy, now you're stuck. And this sort of goes back to San Francisco's well run, so it won't be the problem here. But this sort of goes back to the Bengals discussion, right? Which is you got your quarterback. Now you got these receivers, and you're going to pay them. Well, at some point in time, and this is where the whole salary cap, that's a fake thing. Okay, ask the Bengals that question. Because you know why they suck on defense? Because they can't afford anyone but Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah. And they whiff on draft picks to compound it. Yeah, it's all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, how close, like, Purdy wasn't he, like, questionable? I thought he mixed back in at practice last week.
I mean, he's been questionable and limited with the turf toe for
He did
weeks.
practice.
And he, like, he came back after being out and then, like, played a start and then got hurt again. So
I believe he was if I am correct on this, the emergency third quarterback on Sunday, so he could have played. Yeah, they're sort of slow cooking this thing, one, because I'm sure he's hurt, but two, because Mac Jones is playing really damn well.
Yeah. The other thing, last thing on Purdy here, and I'm not saying he's like a bad quarterback. I'm just saying he's definitely not in that slide him a blank check and let him be one of the highest paid guys in the league without thinking about it. His last 17 games. So in 2023, that was one of the most stacked, loaded rosters. That when they went to the Super Bowl. Loaded roster. You had Pete Christian McCaffrey, if I remember correctly. Your defense was much more loaded. Kittle was 2 years younger. Debo, Ayuk was healthy, all these things. And he put up ridiculous numbers. The last 17 games where things have eroded a little bit, and it's more on you to figure this out. A 64.8 QBR, which puts him like 12th in the NFL. Pretty good, but certainly not carry a franchise. And a passer rating of 94.5, which puts him exactly league average. So that's just the thing. And Mac Jones is going to wind up maybe parlaying this into a Sam Darnold contract somewhere. That's a fun. Like right now, who would be in the Mac Jones business if the offseason started today? That's kind of a 5. I haven't put any thought into this, but I mean, Miami, would they ever move off Tua?
I think you have to at some point, don't you?
That
again, that's
contract
expensive as hell. I know.
Is so bad.
You're right.
So bad.
Yeah.
You're right.
I mean, the Jets maybe, but if you're Mac Jones, you got to be careful about going to a toxic franchise.
Here's a question for you. And it's going to happen in the next few years, if Matthew Stafford hangs it up with the Rams.
That's a good one.
Ooh, that's a
who's
great
behind
one.
him? Because Mac Jones could step right in there.
Yeah. If
Hang
the
out on the
Rams
West
win a
Coast.
Super Bowl this year, which is feasible,
Yeah.
I could see that being. And Stafford's had the back problems.
Well, and his boy Kershaw just went out a champion.
Saw our guy Plouffe hanging out in the suite yesterday with Stafford and the family.
Of course he was.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Of course he was. Plouffe lives. You know what?
Just living the life.
Dude lives a great life.
He does. He
like,
does.
Like he lives a great life.
I was gonna send you the screenshot. I was just like, I think his caption was from Game 7 to this, and it's just at center field suite at SoFi, hanging out with Jimmy Clausen and Matthew Stafford.
Amazing.
Hilarious.
All right, Judd, give us a take.
My take is this. I think the Packers are in trouble. And here's why.
Wow.
Did you guys see that Tucker Kraft, who a week ago Sunday night against Pittsburgh had a great game, the Packers tight end? Well, he suffered what is feared to be probably going to be confirmed at some point on Monday. A torn right ACL. Matthew Golden left the game because of a shoulder problem, but the Tucker Kraft injury alone is a big deal.
It is.
And the other thing that we saw for the second time in the losses to Cleveland and Carolina, and by the way, the Vikings were, I think by a kickoff, the Vikings were a 9.5-point dog, so it went up by a point. At Detroit, well, the spread I found was that Carolina was like 13.5-point underdog in Lambeau, and they won. But the other thing, too, is the commonality between the Cleveland game that the Packers lost and yesterday is, yes, the Packers don't play great, but Jordan Love also short circuits at times. Like, there's just some weird short circuiting in situations that I don't totally get. And quarterbacks are weird, man. There's a lot of things, like, because Jordan Love has a ton of talent. I'm not saying he does not. He's a really good quarterback. But there's also some weird short circuiting that goes on at really crucial times when it shouldn't that I can't figure out. Mm-hmm. And, the Packers, I mean, they tied Dallas, which in retrospect was sort of odd, too. Heck of a game. But anyway, I think if Kraft is hurt and out for the season, which I believe we will come to find out that he is, I think the Packers are in a little bit of trouble here. And I also don't know if Jordan Love can be counted on when push comes to shove again at the most important nut-cutting times.
Is there a quarterback in the league that has a wider range of how good he can play on any given Sunday right now? Because a week ago it was, whoa, look at this dude.
100%.
He was like 20 for 20 at one point.
And LaFleur's a genius then, right? Like Matt LaFleur, unbelievable what he's doing with Jordan Love. Matt LaFleur should be fired.
Yeah, and he's putting up crazy. And last week, I remember I'm sitting here saying, boy, if he plays like that, they're maybe going to win the Super Bowl. And then he gives you another one of these, which is kind of how he played against Cleveland. That weird interception. I get it was a fourth down, but that interception he threw, maybe there was a miscommunication with the route, but the play had broken down. So the routes were, it wasn't like he was reading the routes at that point. But if he plays, if you can get 4 games out of the peak version of Jordan Love in the playoffs, they can 100% win the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But can he go 4 games without giving you one of those where he sort of shipwrecks things and gets lost? I don't know. We haven't seen it.
I feel like he's got those. He's got the potential for, and it's incredibly frustrating when you go to change the channel and your remote says that the batteries are low, and you're like, oh, I got to change, and it starts to short circuit a bit. I feel like that's Jordan Love's got that, and that's what scares me. But I just think they're in a little bit more trouble. Like the Pittsburgh game was great. Yeah. Yesterday was weird. Cleveland was weird. So if Tucker Kraft is an outlet for him for sure. Like he's what I thought Hawkinson would be more for McCarthy, which is a safety blanket. And if you take the safety blanket away, I think it's going to make him short circuit more often.
Yeah, that is. I mean, Tucker Kraft was kind of showing himself as a top 5 tight end, and yeah, that's not good. ACL. All right, I'm gonna fire someone's ass here, Dex.
Yeah, sure. Yep. I'm gonna fire. Coaches are safe here. Players are safe here. Last week I went to my old well of the Fox Sports pregame show well, which I love to go to every year until I'm basically in the ground, because at this point I will be dead before Terry and everyone else is pulled from that show. However, I'm going to stick in a similar vein. I am firing replay coordinators for showing disgusting, gruesome injuries. Speaking of changing the channel, I literally had to. I just hit up because the moment I saw that arm, I can't look at that. It was queasy. I eventually, by the way, turned the football game back on because I'm a sicko. But I can't see that stuff. It is disgusting. It's gross. Everyone is on the Washington side is crying because their franchise quarterback is probably out for the season and a foreseeable future. I don't need to see the gruesome injury. There's a time if I'm signing up for a horror film, that is a different thing. And I know football's a violent game, okay? I understand that there will be risks of this when you play such a sport like football. I'm firing replay coordinators who make the decision of, yeah, let's pan there. Yeah, slow-mo on that elbow as it goes completely in the other direction as he's being sacked.
I mean, how many? So they showed one for sure. Did they show a bunch of replays? I think you need one replay of it. I need one, and if they need to brace you for it, Joe Theismann, they showed that multiple times back in the 80s
I think
on
they
that
showed
live.
I think they showed it a few times. I think that's where they started to say we can't do this. Like we can't be showing this consistently.
Well, you could warn people, okay, what you're about
Well, they
to
do.
see.
I mean, lots of times they do. I saw it once, and I will say this: it is amazing where parts of the human body can move to that they're not supposed to be.
I'm guessing that's the E.J. Henderson injury you're talking about. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, you're talking about the Jaden replay?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Jaden replay. I'm saying in the Theismann case, I think they did show it a few times, and they like drew a line. Somebody finally said we shouldn't have done that. But on the Jaden Daniels replay, where his elbow moved to, like you're like, I didn't know an elbow could go there.
I mean,
It like was wrapped around his arm, like it was on the other side of his arm.
when I saw the play, like the replay for the first time, because I didn't see the play live, he was putting his arm down, and I was thinking I knew it was going to be a bad injury because it was like, oh, this is going to be a bad injury.
Yeah.
But I was thinking as he's putting his arm down, oh, his whole body and someone else's body are all going to come down on that arm. And it was disgusting. I don't know that it was as bad as like some of the leg injuries you see out there.
Yeah, I
No.
And it was his non-throwing arm, right? So I don't
Yeah, so why is he not playing on Sunday?
Maybe he can come back. And
So why is he not playing next week? You know what? Carson Wentz showed us this. Brace her up and get back out there. You don't need that arm.
That's right. Oh man, yeah. I think
Brace
Kevin
her up.
O'Connell would put him out there against his will. Good thing Dan Quinn has a conscience out there in Washington.
How about Washington though? Like how about like this league, man? Year to year, how quickly
league.
things can change. It
so
is
they're
a
3-6, right? They're
It's
just
a
their season's kind of cooked, and
crazy
Jaden
league
Daniels is out.
But it is the goofiest. It's goofy week to week, much less like November to November.
I have one more in the form of a question for you guys. And there'll be, if you want more of NFL breakdown, we'll have like an hour and a half O-line committee today going through all these things. Jeremiah and Alex will have a bunch of takes too, but so it's more of a question than a take. Do you think the Colts and Daniel Jones were exposed as frauds yesterday, or was it just a bad day?
I think it's too early to say that they were exposed as frauds, okay? But I do think that there is probably an in-between on Jones. Doesn't mean he has to be terrible, so I don't think he's going to be awful. But do I think he was as good as he was playing previously? Probably not. Pittsburgh, my issue with this is Pittsburgh is a very average team. And yes, they can pop up, and they clearly had a good game. But it is interesting, it's instructive that Daniel Jones was intercepted 3 times. He fumbled 3 times and lost 2. And that seems like Daniel Jones going back to his Giants days. So am I going to be surprised if he regresses now to a point where it's not like, let's have an MVP discussion? Absolutely. Fraud is too I would need to see a couple of games, 2 or 3 games like this. Fraud's a very strong word. But exposed might be a perfect word.
Okay.
I'd be very tempted, assuming that they win their division, they get a home playoff game in the wild card round. I'd be very tempted to fade them in that game, depending on the matchup. Their wins this year, they've beaten the horrible Titans twice. They've beaten the Dolphins. They've beaten the Raiders. They've beaten the Cardinals. And they play an average Steelers team, and Daniel Jones turns exactly back into who he used to be. So I don't think they're as good as advertised. I don't. It's Daniel Jones that scares me the most. Daniel Jones is what scares me the most of that. Yes, he's having a resurgence here a little bit, but I'd be tempted to fade them in a playoff game if the playoffs were tomorrow.
The win at the Chargers was really impressive, although the Chargers have been kind of decimated. The home win against Denver is a good win on paper, but it took they got lucky at the end because they lined up for a 60-yard field goal, missed it. Denver got called for that penalty. They were shadowing the center.
Yeah.
Move it up 15 yards. They knock home the 45-yarder to win the game.
Yes.
So there's, to Declan's point about as you dig through their schedule a little bit, it's like, all right, cool. You beat the brakes off the Raiders and the Titans a couple times. All right, whatever. That's cool. Are you that team, though, that's got like a 1 plus 150 point differential? They can run the ball, I will say. Like Jonathan Taylor is incredible. So they're a playoff team, but maybe a little bit of a reality check yesterday.
Yeah, one of the worst third down defenses in the NFL. They have the Chiefs out of the bye before Thanksgiving, which will be they're probably going to cakewalk to that division. Again, they're gonna have a home playoff game. I'd still be shocked at this point because they're 7-2 and they're going to get one. But whoever their wild card matchup is, I am very tempted to take them.
I would be very tempted to fade both of the former Vikings quarterbacks who are playing right now in their opening playoff game. I would look at the Seahawks and say, "You prove it to me, Sammy boy. You prove it. You can do it."
But Seattle also has an incredible defense. I mean, top 5 scoring defense. So
yeah.
The Vikings did last year too. The Vikings had a top 5 scoring defense last year with Turner.
I would fade the Seahawks based on the fact that I think he'll choke.
Man. Sammy. I feel like I can't decide if your take is that you think he'll choke or that you're hoping he'll choke so that your take is...
What I saw last year in those last 2 games, and the Detroit game in particular, repulsed me.
Those are 2 games.
Repulsed me. Yeah, but they're 2 games with huge pressure.
But can you really say that... This is where we differ. Can you really say that, boy, Sam Darnold, who was 26 years old and emerging from football purgatory for the first part of his career, got to the biggest moment, had never really been there before, choked a little bit. Therefore, for the next 10 years of his football career, this is exactly what he's going to do every time he gets into a big spot. That's a big take.
It's a huge take. It's a hot take, and I love this take, and here's why. It's the reason I like McCarthy. Here's my sense. J.J. McCarthy, so there's a difference between choking and pissing down your leg, okay? Randall Cunningham, second half Falcons, 98. He was peeing himself. It was like, oh my God, what am I watching here? Dude, what is wrong? Yeah. And there's a difference between you get to a big game because there's always steps, right? Like a lot of guys, they don't play great in their first playoff game and then the next one. So to your point, Phil, the progression. But I saw a man in Detroit who was literally wetting the field at Ford Field.
Okay.
And I think that's him.
Do you think then... Now, Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold in the regular season. But Lamar Jackson has, whatever word you want to use, pissed himself, choked, come up short in the biggest playoff games. Does that mean that that you put Lamar Jackson in the same bin, that he will therefore never... He has a longer sample size
but don't forget,
pissing in big games than Sam Darnold does.
But don't forget, too, Mark Andrews in the playoff game last year dropped the football. Like Darnold was incapable of getting someone to drop a football. He couldn't even throw. He couldn't even throw the ball. Yeah, like he was literally he couldn't throw the football. Like to me, there's certain telltale signs, and if I'm proven wrong, great. But to me, like McCarthy, if he can play, he has an it factor. The stats might not be great, but you know what? At the end of the day, he's a football psycho, which we saw in the locker room yesterday.
The face he made, like from a distance, as Kevin O'Connell shouting him out in the locker room, and he looks like a demon. You know,
he does.
Face paint.
But you know what you want? You want a demon. You want that. And what I saw in Detroit especially, which was an eminently winnable game, was a man that couldn't control his bodily functions when it mattered most. I would not say Lamar has done that.
I think his bodily functions have been a little questionable. Yeah. There was that one game where he actually, I think, had to go to the bathroom and then came back.
He claims it was cramps, right? But dude, you just had.
Lamar?
It could have been cramps, and
cramping. I'll tell you that I've had that cramping before. I've had that cramping.
Get a little bad dose of
Gatorade. Don't fix that cramping, boys.
Pickle juice, as Justin Jefferson
was
having.
No, pickle juice don't fix it either. Pickle juice might make it worse.
I can confirm it makes it worse. I once downed a 12-ounce cup of pickle juice when I worked at the state fair. I was on the can in the food building for 25 minutes.
That is not a place you want to be on the can for 25 minutes.
And they closed the fair down shortly thereafter.
Snake draft of worst places to do that. It might be number one. It might be number one.
Let's do that on Friday. You guys
worst places to crap.
Yeah. No. Yes. Let's do it.
Worst places. Okay. Worst places to defecate. Yep. I'm in.
Wow.
I'm in.
Come for the football takes. Stay for the worst places to have to go number 2. Snake draft ideas.
Don't be enjoying your breakfast.
Big teams right now.
Oh, there's a ton of them. Like this is a slam dunk, so to speak.
All right, those are our NFL takes and some other takes here on Purple Daily, our temporary home on the Score North YouTube channel until I think Friday is when we get out of YouTube jail. we're still working with the YouTube authorities and Sports Dad's legal team to figure out the what, why, and how. But we'll see you guys next time on Purple Daily.